significant. I would say that I'm going to challenge you a little bit.
Yeah.
And look, you and I both know it's a mess, and that's why we're having this kind of conversation.
Yeah.
So some of the things that I've seen is I'm seeing court cases leaking out of Ukrainian court and going to the greater European courts because there's the state is overreaching. They're statefying certain assets, and then the business owner legitimately saying, hey, I own this. And then Ukraine's going, not anymore, you don't. We're not paying you for it. And so the business is like, and I'm just giving you an example. There's a number of these things. They go to the European court, and then the European court's like, actually, that person does own that, and I'm finding in their favor. Here's your judgment. And they go back to Ukrainian court. Ukrainian court's like, get lost. And so that person's like, okay. And so can't exercise that judgment in Ukraine, but they can externally. So when BAE goes to invest, they're like, oh, hold on. There's a $400 million lien on this property. And this is, again, an example, right? Yeah. But these are things are happening. So that's going to retard external investment. There's also, and these are the parts of the machine. Like, so this is ground truth, Pete, right? This is when I go out and I look at Afghanistan, is the government working? And I see, hey, we're in a firefight. So I go to the Afghan police. Okay, we just were in a firefight. I saw that. You fired 2 RPGs, I don't know, maybe 2,000 rounds of ammo. How do you replenish that? Oh, we're going to send up a request. And so here's what Pete does. Pete follows that request. It goes up, 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 and no ammo ever comes back. Someone kills it. And they're like, those guys are lying. They sold their ammo. And I'm like, I was there. I watched it. They actually fired the ammo. They actually need it. And so the system doesn't work, right? And so here's one of the things that happens is the corruption task force, whoever it is, there's several of these things in Ukraine. They'll say, this company's corrupt. We're going to go seize it. And we're going to fire these people or put them in jail. And then they'll do nothing else. And they'll bring in like the new people that are clean. These aren't corrupt people, but they don't know how to run the machine, the business, whatever it is. And then a couple of months later, Ukraine will come back and be like, hey, business owner, we don't know how to run your machine. Can you please run the machine? So there is a cost, there is a penalty, and now the person comes back and they're like, why did you arrest me? So there is some graft going on there that, again, this is going to retard growth. And I'm afraid that we see the news story, and like you and I both look at the news all the time and we see these things. So you see the front pretty news story of, hey, we arrested these people, we're going to make them pay. And then on the back end, you don't see the fact that, a couple months later, like, we had to we did the wrong thing. We need these guys to run.
Well, let them out and bring them in. Say, sorry, come on.
Yeah. So you and I both know, like, these things are happening. And so it's like, it's a canard in some ways. I'm not saying that there's not progress being made. I'm not saying those things, but there is a lot of corruption going on. There's a lot of trying to sort these things out. Look, 2 of the biggest donors to the Atlantic Council that writes a lot of these negative press pieces are Pinchuk and Riyadh. The 2 biggest oligarchs of all are the biggest donors, and these guys benefit from these negative press pieces that go out against their competition. So I just am very suspect. And I've watched the U.S. go in and get this stuff wrong over and over over.
And the international community go and get everything you said is 100% right. And you can't argue against it. You look at how businesses develop. In when we're doing business in the West, and we're doing business even out of the West into the Far East and elsewhere. It takes tens of years to get through all of the issues that you've brought out that are going on anyway. Add in there where you're dealing with a country that is on a national survival basis, because that's what Ukraine is. It's on a national survival basis, but not only a national survival basis where the country's leader is someone that A, was unpopular, and B, didn't come in on a political ticket. He came in because he was to the masses seen as a popular individual. He hadn't got any political background apart from playing it on television. Have we got any US presidents in relatively recent history who've come in from that sort of background and done stuff and achieved things?
I can't think of any.
No.
We have the best people here. We only
exactly. But he's come in doing that, and you're gonna get those real difficulties that are going through whenever you've got so many different factors competing with each other. And this is where then political judgment's at the center. And this is where, the Ukrainian central courts at the moment can turn around and stick the middle finger up and say, fuck you, European court. We're doing what we want because we're a sovereign nation. We're not part of the EU. However, when it then comes to the final vinegar strokes of negotiating your membership of the EU, they're going to go, hey, well, we're really sorry. We got that wrong. We'll fix it. Here's where we've changed our laws to make sure that can never happen again. But they're going to do that knowing that Russia's been defeated and pushed out. And they know that they can get away with that. And it's that balance at the minute that is the political game. And this is where politicians, no answer is ever black or white. There's always, you're in this horrible gray area, and whatever answer you come up with is not going to be right for every element that you're trying to influence. So it's trying to judge as to which is the most important bit that you influence at that time and have the least long-term effect as you're dealing with it, knowing that your decision is going to affect something from the long term, almost certainly in a negative way, and it's going to affect people today in what's going on. And that balancing act is where the politicians make their money. And looking at Zelensky and the way he's dealing with it, I think he's giving global leaders a masterclass on how to do leadership in under the most intense of circumstances.